So you've just spent, what, weeks, maybe months mastering a powerful automation tool, something like n8n,
Yeah, you know the basics. You get the nodes, the triggers.
and you build that first simple workflow. It sends a good morning message to your team on Slack. Beat. And that workflow, it proves you learned the syntax, but it doesn't solve any real problem. It has no value.
And what's so fascinating is that pivot.
Yeah.
How do you get from that cool demo, from what we call tutorial hell, to building something robust?
Something that's actually production ready.
A system that actually earns you money or saves you real time.
That's the jump, isn't it? The one from student to professional builder. And that is exactly the challenge we're diving into today. Our sources gave us this really detailed map for it.
A blueprint, really.
For escaping that trap after you learn a tool like an n8n, that visual node platform.
It's all about direction, not just effort.
Yeah.
You have to think about this strategically. I like the drill metaphor.
Oh, the drill metaphor, yeah.
Right. Owning a really high-quality power drill is great. You know how it works, how it spins. But it only creates value when you actually use it to build something.
Something that's functional, that can stand up to some stress.
That's it. That's how you turn these skills into tangible assets.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission here is to distill this down to 5 immediate, high-impact actions you can take right now.
To make sure that in-hand knowledge actually translates.
Exactly. We're building a foundation for, being a real authority in this space come 2026.
So let's start with the first thing, the absolute foundation.
The sources are incredibly blunt about this. The biggest mistake beginners make is immediately trying to sell their skills.
They launch an agency or they try to build these huge, complex client systems.
Right. They try to automate problems they don't really truly understand.
And that's the key. So before you build anything for anyone else, you have to automate something you hate doing.
The selfish rule. Fix the pain in your own house first.
And when you do that, when you live inside your own automation, you really start to see where it fails. It guarantees 2 things.
Okay.
1, you already know all the weird edge cases, the frustrating parts. And 2, you're guaranteed to actually use it. And more importantly, to maintain it.
That maintenance part. That's where the real learning happens, in the mess of your own business data, not some clean tutorial example. So to pick the right target, the sources have this simple metric. It's called the pain score test.
This just rates a task from 1 to 10 across 4 different criteria.
Time wasted, frequency, frustration, and complexity.
The whole idea is to just quantify how much that manual task is costing you.
So let's say you have a task you do every day. So frequency is a 10. It takes you 40 minutes. So time wasted is an 8. It makes you want to pull your hair out. So frustration is a 9.
But it's pretty simple to do, just annoying. So complexity is maybe a 3.
Right. You add that up and you get a pain score of 30.
And if that score is over 30, that's your target. You build that workflow today.
That fixed build forces you to deal with real-world errors, real problems. That's the only true way to learn this stuff.
Abandoned practice projects just don't teach you resilience. The data's too clean.
We're talking about small, powerful wins here. Like an auto-invoicing system for a designer when a project in Notion gets marked done.
Or a creator who pulls their YouTube analytics into a Google Sheet every Monday morning. Simple things that solve a real recurring pain.
But there's a really crucial rule here, a cautionary tale almost.
Yeah.
Do not try to automate a process you haven't done manually at least 10 times.
And that's so important. If you automate a process too early, you just end up automating a bad process. You make an inefficient thing go faster.
Cleaning that up later takes 10 times as long.
So if that selfish rule is so critical, what does automating for yourself teach you that just reading the documentation can't?
It teaches resilience and real-world error management under true pressure.
Okay, so you've solved your own pain. Now what? The challenge shifts from just doing automation to actually managing it.
Which brings us to essential action number 2, building your automation portfolio.
This is what separates people who build one-off scripts from those who build actual careers. It's a strategic shift.
You move beyond these isolated little flows.
And you start building a searchable, reusable library of your work. And this is not a client showcase. It's your personal inventory of building blocks.
The sources called it an automation factory, which I think is a perfect metaphor.
It is. You're creating these standard, repeatable patterns that you can just remix for new problems later on.
So if you have a workflow that connects a Google Sheet to a Slack alert,
You don't rebuild that every single time. You save it. It becomes a standard component in your factory.
So you focus on these repeatable units, data collection, alerts, business ops like invoicing or CRM updates.
Exactly. And then 80% of any new project is just simple remixing. You're not starting from scratch.
But that all comes down to organization, which sounds boring.
It sounds boring, but it's the professional's secret weapon. Your flows have to be simple and searchable.
So how do people actually do this? You could use a GitHub repo, right? Like an automation library.
Or just a simple Notion database with columns for the name, the use case, and a link to the workflow's JSON file.
Or you could just use n8n's own internal folders and tags, something like data inbound or finance outbound.
The key, though, is the external part. Export the JSON. Write a quick, clear explanation of what it does and where it might fail. Store that somewhere you can find it. That is professional workflow management.
And that also helps if you need to bring someone else in to help or if you go on vacation, your business doesn't grind to a halt.
So how much time does proper organization like that really save you in the long run?
Reusing a documented workflow takes minutes, fundamentally avoiding hours of rebuilding and troubleshooting.
All right, our third essential action is all about the speed limit of learning. It's about communities.
Because if you try to learn this stuff in a vacuum, in isolation, you're going to hit a wall.
Inevitably, you'll get stuck on some complex problem. You'll search for hours using the wrong keywords, and then you just kind of give up. You plateau.
We've all been there. The fix is pretty simple. Join the communities where people are actually building and breaking things.
The official n8n forum, certain Discord channels, engaging with experts on YouTube. These places are where you get a sanity check when you need it.
But the sources warn about this lurker trap.
Ah, yes. Where you join, you save a bunch of posts, download some workflows.
And you tell yourself you'll get to it later. But you never actually apply it, so you stay in that student mindset.
But isn't just listening the most efficient way to learn? I mean, why should I spend my time answering basic questions for other people?
It feels efficient, but it's passive. You don't truly own a concept until you have to explain it to someone else. And honestly, we all struggle. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself when I'm building complex automations.
Okay, for clarity, what do you mean by prompt drift here?
It's when an AI-driven workflow or any complex chain of logic, it just slowly loses focus. It starts off answering your prompt, but by step 7, it's talking about something else entirely.
Right. And having a community to sanity check that kind of complex logic is just, it's essential.
Which makes that shift from consuming to contributing so important. The sources suggest this contribution rule.
For every 3 questions you ask, answer 1 for somebody else.
Because teaching is the fastest way to master something. It forces you to check your own knowledge.
Plus, it builds your reputation. Experts are way more likely to help you with a really tricky problem if they've seen you helping others.
And there's a huge difference in how you share. Professionals share workflows that solved a specific, thorny problem. They don't just post a screenshot of an error and say, what's wrong?
That's just asking for free consulting.
Right. So why is it so dangerous to just lurk and save posts without ever contributing?
Lurking keeps you in passive student mode and actively prevents true conceptual mastery. Sponsor.
So once you've automated your own pain and you're active in the community, it's time for action number 4, the portfolio project.
And this is what moves you into professional territory, because now you're building to solve problems for other people.
And you have to manage all the complexity that comes with that, with external users.
This is really the strongest proof of your skill. When you build for yourself, you can be messy. You can have bad naming, no logging.
But building for others, it forces you to be professional. Clean design, good user experience, robust error handling, data security.
And if the workflow only runs once, or it only works on your machine, it doesn't count.
This can't be a rush thing either. The sources break this build process down into 4 distinct phases.
And phase 1 is planning. This is the part that everyone skips, and it's why they fail.
You have to define the problem. Who has it? What are the limits, like API rate limits? You have to map out the logic first in a notebook or something.
If you skip that, you're just going to waste time rebuilding it later.
Then you move to phase 2, build the MVP, the minimum viable product.
Create the smallest possible version that actually solves the core problem, and test it like crazy until it stops breaking.
Phase 3 is Polish. This is what separates the amateur from the professional asset builder.
Polish means great error handling. What happens when an API goes down? It means clear logging, so you know when it ran. It means clean design, consistent naming.
Another builder should be able to look at it and understand it in 10 minutes.
And that polish is what lets you move to phase 4, share, and document.
You post it to the communities, write a little blog post about it, package it up with a READE file, a simple diagram, some use cases.
That documentation turns a small project into undeniable professional credibility.
So which of those phases is the most commonly skipped, and what's the consequence?
Planning is frequently skipped, leading directly to wasted time and exponential unnecessary rebuilding down the line.
Okay, our fifth and final action is about leveling up your technical game.
Grant.
If you only ever use basic triggers and simple HTTP requests, you're driving a Ferrari in first gear.
Yeah, to build professional-grade automations, you have to master the power features, the things that give you scale, security, and modularity.
And that starts with reusable architecture. It means mastering sub-workflows.
Absolutely.
Mm.
You should never rebuild common logic 10 times. You build it once as a sub-workflow, and you just call it from your other flows.
We recommend prefixing them with SEB, like sub-Slack notification. It's easy to find.
And that modular approach feeds right into professional resilience. You should have one master error handling workflow.
So all your critical flows point to this one single place. If something breaks at 3 a.m., the system logs the error to a sheet and sends one Slack alert. It's a unified system.
Then we have to talk about webhooks. They are your automation superpower.
They let n8n become a real-time integration layer. They let your custom apps or forms trigger your workflows instantly.
You're not stuck polling for changes every 5 minutes. It just happens.
And look, the visual nodes are amazing, but sometimes you hit a wall. The logic gets too complex.
And that's when you need the code node. And you don't need to be a developer. Just learning some basic JavaScript for data cleaning or custom math is a game changer.
Right. It's not about becoming a coder. It's about learning a simple expression like JSON data.filter item.status, a filter list. It lets you handle edge cases that the normal nodes just can't.
But maybe the single most important power feature, the one with the biggest immediate gain, is using environment variables.
Yes. For security. We have to stop hard-coding passwords and API keys directly into our workflows.
The risk is just catastrophic. If you accidentally share that workflow file, your master database keys are just out there.
Using something like nv.Appy database keeps that sensitive data separate. The credentials live outside the workflow itself.
And what's really cool is that you can then share your workflow with a client or the community, and you never have to worry about them seeing your private credentials.
Whoa! Okay, imagine scaling that. A secure, modular approach to 1 billion queries without ever leaking a single API key.
That's real operational security.
So if you could only pick one power feature to master first, which one offers the biggest immediate security gain?
Environment variables offer the quickest and most critical security improvement, hands down.
So what does this all boil down to for you? The real difference between an amateur who's stuck in tutorial hell and a true professional. It's a focus on reusability and resilience.
And you get that through these 5 steps. It's about building an automation factory, not just a bunch of isolated scripts you have to maintain by hand.
The core lesson here is just application, pure application. You're never going to be done learning a tool like an n8n.
But that can't be an excuse to stay in student mode forever. The skills you have, they depreciate if you don't put them to use, to active time-saving use.
The professional understands that the only thing worse than not learning n8n is learning it inside and out, and then never using it to solve a hard problem.
So your challenge starts right now. As soon as this is over,
identify that one task you hated doing this week, the one that scored over 30 on the pain score. And don't close this deep dive until you have started automating that one specific task.
thanks for sharing your sources with us and letting us dig in.
Happy building. Out to your own music.